that why do it yourself is good in the initial phase if you have all the time in life and if you're not doing anything.
And if you're expert.
And if you are an expert, look at units and only units when it
Right.
comes to mutual funds.
Correct.
History ये कहता है कि best performing fund of last year has never been the best performing fund this year.
Correct.
And the worst performing fund of this year sometimes will be the best performing fund next year. If there is some money left and if you are doing investments, a portion of that should go towards retirement, because the retirement savings should start from day one so that it gets 20, 30, 40, 50 years for compounding.
Hello friends, welcome to our latest episode of podcast series Investwise Bharat. Today we have Ankit Jain, Senior Vice President of PGIM India Mutual Fund, overseeing sales of Mumbai and Gujarat region. Ankit Jain also has a podcast channel, namely PGIM India Insights, taking interviews of fund manager and analysts about on various sectors and the market outlook. He began his career with BSP Mutual Fund, where he spent 12 years. In 2021, he joined PGIM India Mutual Fund. Ankit is very passionate about educating people about investments and conducted various investor awareness programs in school, colleges, and corporates. Let's meet Ankit Jain. Hey Ankit, welcome to our latest episode of podcast series Investwise Bharat.
Thank you, Paresh bhai. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So before we start, we just like to know your journey in this mutual fund industry. Exciting because you have such an illustrious career into the industry. So can
Sure.
you just throw light on that?
Sure, Paresh bhai. In fact, it is actually a very interesting story. I was doing my commerce graduation from HR college, which is there at Churchgate. And simultaneously, I was also doing my chartered accountancy. When I was doing my chartered accountancy, I realized that I was doing chartered accountancy because all my friends were also doing. But nor I had interest in taxation, nor I had interest in audit. And I discussed this with my father, and he told me that if that is the case, why don't you take up something? Why don't you work somewhere and then take some work experience and then eventually do MBA from a good university? That is where, and again, it's a coincidence, in the hindsight, if you see, there were some mutual fund account statements which were lying on my father's desk. And my father told me that, why don't you call up a DSP mutual fund? We have investments there and we have made good money in the last 5-7 years. So I just picked up the account statement. There was a toll-free number. I called up and somehow it got connected to the HR and I was called for the interview the next day. In a week's time, I was actually working there.
Oh.
So it's a very, very interesting story. And from there, I never looked back. All throughout last 16 years of my career, I've been only doing this. I never went back to do my MBA. I was doing sales all throughout my life, and I was very, very passionate about, educating investors. So I've done a lot of sessions. In fact, 100+ sessions where I have, discussed about how investments can be managed, how you should do, what you should do with money. And that is how my journey began. And today, thanks to all of y'all, because of the work I have done and with your support, I'm heading the Bombay and Gujarat market for PGIM India Mutual Fund.
Wonderful. And I got the information from your office that you have done more than 126 of investor awareness program. That's fantastic.
You are absolutely right. In fact, I have done sessions not only in corporates, but I've also done sessions in BMC schools where I've discussed about investments with the faculty, with the teachers, with the principals. I've done sessions with a lot of MBA students who are in their final year MBA, who will be in the market next year, earning and making a check for their living. But one of my best experience was when I did a session for the ground staff and the crew members of Indigo, where for the first time I went to an airport without a ticket. I didn't have any flight ticket, I didn't have any passport, I didn't have any visa, and I was doing a session inside an Indigo's office, which was there at Terminal 2 at Mumbai.
Wow.
So that was one of my bestest experience in the last.
That was something
15
really
years.
exciting. Yeah, I mean, let's move forward and roll on to the main the topic of the
Sure, Paresh bhai.
podcast series is, see, market is quite volatile in the recent times.
Yeah.
Okay, and the investors react to the downside fall in a very exuberantly manner. So,
Yeah.
how does an investor tackle this kind of a situation in during this time, and how does an investor should maintain their investment journey?
Sure, Paresh bhai. So, I also come across like you, a lot of investors who tell me that, market is very volatile, market has fallen. What happens is, this is very recent, which has happened. So it is very fresh in our memory. But we don't see that in the last 10, 15, 20 years of markets, every year market has fallen. Sometimes it falls and then it comes back and it closes the year in positive. So we end up forgetting because it has become, past. But market, when you are investing in equity market and you're investing in mutual funds which are related to equities, you will bound to have volatility. But volatility is your enemy only if you look at near term. If you look at long term, it will hardly matter at all. Like, to give you an example, and with a clear cut example of maybe, an investment of maybe a yours or mine. I am investing in mutual funds for the last 17 years now. My last 17 years mutual fund performance is 15% CAGR, compounded annual growth rate.
That's really good.
Even in this fall, my CAGR from 15 has only come down to 14.2%, a 0.8% drop in 15 years. So will it really matter for me if I'm investing for 15 years? The answer is no. Yeah, but if you come across an investor who's invested only 6 months back, and if market has fallen 20%, they will be very jittery because they have not seen markets going down. They have not experienced a bear run, which, maybe you and I, because we have spent 15, 20 years in the market, we have seen. So market is going to be volatile, nor today, tomorrow, every time. If you increase your time frame from 6 months to say 6 years, 10 years, 15 years, the volatility only and only reduces, and you actually end up making good money if you hold on for really long. And there's a study also which has happened in the past. There's a white paper which was written by one of the research firm. Investor returns is never the return of what the mutual fund returns have generated, because nobody has held on their investments for so long. Some investor invest and they remove after 1 year, some will remove after 2 years, some will remove after 3 years, some will remove at really bad times. Like during COVID time, there was a lot of money which was removed at the bottom.
Yeah.
So their returns will never be, what the actual fund's returns are. But if you stay on for really long, your mutual fund returns will actually be your returns in your portfolio.
True.
So we have to try to be there in the market and spend maximum time and not time the market, because nobody can pick the bottom and nobody can pick the peak. Nobody knows when market will top down, or nobody knows when market will bottom at, from here it will go. But if you spend long time, you will actually end up making good money in the market.
So timing the market doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
When you want to create huge wealth over the long period.
Absolutely.
So spending time in the market is more important.
Absolutely.
Right.
So there's an interesting analysis, and all of us can do that analysis. If you are doing an SIP in an equity mutual fund, if you have given 7 years plus, and in the 8th year, if your fund has given 12% return, you are actually doubling your money what you have invested in the first year.
True.
And a lot of people don't know this. So this magic only happens because of compounding. And compounding only kicks in once you have spent a reasonable amount of time. A lot of legendary investors have actually created wealth only after 30, 40 years of investments. Once they have spent that much time, then big money has been created.
Correct.
So my request to everybody who's listening to us today is, give time, money will be made.
Right.
Don't try to time the market that I will be the smartest one to pick up the bottom. I'll be the smart one to think that market has now reached a peak, it will not come back. No, you have to spend maximum time in the market, is why it is important.
True. So in this kind of a scenario, how should investor prioritize between saving for retirement and managing the current financial obligations?
Wow, this is a wonderful question. And, there are various aspects to these questions, but I'll pick up one of them. For example, if you are in your 20s and you have just started earning, if you're going to meet that client and if you're going to tell him that you should plan for your retirement from today, it will, if you start early, you will really make a lot of money because you will be earning for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. However, his priority is that his office is in Fort, but he stays in Vashi. His immediate priority is that he wants to move closer to his office so that he can spend less time in traveling and he can give more time to his family after work. So this juggle will always be there. Should I prioritize this goal? Should I prioritize that goal? However, there is, by default, if you're working, you have an employment provident fund which gets deducted from your salary and it gets invested in it, and you can only touch it after completion of X number of years or after you have actually retired from workforce. But if you can save even 5 to 10% of your earnings, initial earnings, towards a retirement goal, it can really compound in a big way because you will be giving a lot of time to your investments. If you are earning from say age of 25 and if you earn till say 45, 50, 60, you're going to give 25, 30 years of compounding to your investments. So starting early will always be important, but you need to prioritize. And that is where I think, mutual fund distributors can sit with, investors, and they can actually explain them that, for you, this is the right thing to do, and for you, this is not the right thing to do.
Right. So actually, we have seen that whenever we, create a financial structure for investors, so we emphasize on the retirement goal. Okay. So, but investors generally give less importance to the retirement plan. Okay. So everybody knows that yoga is very useful and is needed for maintaining good health. सब जानते हैं योगा बहुत अच्छा है, सबको करने की जरूरत है, लेकिन करते कितने लोग हैं? So that is what the question is. So जब भी when we create the plan, so people generally don't give that much importance to the retirement goal and etc. So how does one retirement plan कितना important है investors?
No, you are absolutely right, Paresh bhai. And I'll give you our example. At PGM India Mutual Fund, we do these surveys of Nielsen where we go to the market. We ask people that what is your top priorities of goals. 5 years back when we done this survey, retirement was not even in their top 10 discussion. That was not even in their priority. However, when we did survey just a couple of years back, again the second survey, we realized that now retirement goal at least is featuring in the top 7 goals. Earlier it used to not even be in the top 10, but now it is started to feature in top 7 goals. So you are absolutely right. When you discuss about retirement with someone, and understand why, when you discuss about retirement with someone, you're basically asking someone to sit at home. You're telling him that you cannot go to work. And when you tell somebody who's so used to have his daily routine of getting up in the morning, having a shower, going with his bag to office, it's his schedule, and you're telling his schedule to completely stop and retire and stay home. So it's a very negative thing when it comes to discussing about retirement in the mind of, people. And that is why people don't openly discuss about retirement. And that is why they are a little skeptical and then don't end up planning. But our survey says that from below 10 now, it has at least come in the top 7 priority list. And I'm very sure that, as more and more people listen to people like you, people, who can listen to this podcast and other podcasts in the market, people are going to realize that retirement is going to be very, very critical, and how planning early will be very, very important.
Actually, the emotions behind that retirement plan is that people feel that after retirement, they are becoming redundant, or rather, involved in the less important activities.
Yeah.
But that mindset, I think, needs to be changed, because retirement itself is give you that freedom of whatever you want to do, you can do.
Absolutely.
So that mindset, how one can change that, and the various other factors also come into the picture, like then your health related, then how long you are going to live, that kind of things are there. So how so how we can make that things understand for the investors.
Sure. So, Pareshbhai, you actually hit on the nail. We at PGM India, mutual fund, we understand these are the actual problems and how you can make retirement as a fun topic to discuss with client. That at least they start discussing in a happy manner and they can actually plan about, retirement. So, what we did is we came out with something called as a 50 gig report. And these are the various things which people want to do, but people don't know whether they can actually make money out of it or not. So we actually interviewed a lot of people who quit their high paying salary jobs. And today, some of them, as you spoke about, some of them are become yoga teachers, some of them have become consultants, some of them have become coaches. They are coaching people for life, they are coaching people for, some of the other sport. Earlier, people didn't know that these are the various gigs available where you can monetize. But
Right.
now people have realized that if I have even 80% of my retirement corpus, which I should have, even if that is ready, I can actually retire and I can pick up one of my hobby and actually monetize out of it. And I'll give you an example. During COVID, I have a relationship manager in my bank who used to be in touch with me for all my banking needs. And she said that she has quit and now she has become a yoga trainer. She got herself yoga certified and everything, and now she teaches yoga over Zoom to everybody.
Wow.
And she said that I could only do this because COVID happened. Everybody was sitting home, they were not working to their full capacity. So everybody was doing some or the other thing which they really liked doing. Some were playing games, some were doing some form of sport at home. And she always felt that she's very flexible, she has interest in this, and she took up that. And now, Pareshbhai, you won't believe, she makes much more money than what she could have made when she was working in a bank. And she's like, I'm happy, I'm an entrepreneur, I can do what I want when I get up in the morning.
Correct.
So she's actually retired because she quit her job, but she's picked up something which she's really, really passionate about. And because of that passion, she's making much more money than what she could otherwise. So when you sit with people and you can tell them कि even आपके पास अगर retirement का corpus नहीं है, 80% 90% भी अगर आपके पास है, आप retire हो सकते हो in what you are doing as usual, and you should have some skill from which you can actually make money.
Right.
Now, be it teaching, be it coaching, be it consultant, you can spend 3-4 days of your week, and even if you can make 20,000-30,000 rupees monthly, why not? You should pick it up. So
Correct.
we have to make retirement discussion very, very interesting with people so that they openly come out and talk about it. Yes, I want to retire.
Yeah, first, actually, investors should realize that retirement is not a problem.
Absolutely.
It is a second inning of our life.
Absolutely.
Where we should enjoy more during those periods.
Absolutely.
Because we have the financial independence or
Absolutely.
freedom we have. We are not worrying about making money. So we can focus on more on our activities that we love to do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely fine. That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
So Ankit, when one should plan for the retirement goal?
I think it is very clear the day you get your first paycheck, and this is, for all our viewers who are listening to us today, you should have some portion of your investment which should go towards retirement. And there is a reason why. If you give retirement, goal long time, that much it will compound. And we all know compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. Let's assume you have retired. Do you know that retirement is the only goal for which you don't get a traditional loan?
Right.
You want to buy a
not be funded.
house. You want to buy a house, you can go to a bank, they'll give you a loan. You want to go to abroad to travel with your family. There are now loans available. You can buy now, pay later.
Right.
You can pay in 6 equal installments.
Correct.
You want to buy a car, there is an EMI option available.
Right.
But if you go to a bank and you tell them, sir, मैं retire हो गया, मेरे को लोन चाहिए क्योंकि अभी मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है ये महीने के लिए. He'll say, boss, nothing doing. I can't give you anything because retirement के लिए मैं क्या बोल दूँ? आपका कुछ salary भी नहीं है, आपके पास कुछ asset भी नहीं है. Unless you can go to your friends and family who can only support you. So it is very, very important that you should have a proper financial structure in place. You should start from day one. And एक बार आपने वो स्ट्रक्चर बना दिया ना, all you have to do is to be very very boring and continue that same structure unless there is some changes which has happened in your family. For example, when you are started your workforce, you wouldn't have been married, but if you get married you will have some dependency. Responsibility बढ़ती है, you will have child, then responsibility बढ़ती है. So you have to keep on monitoring, keep on changing your financial structure based on the development in your house which is happening or in your life journey which is happening.
लेकिन होता क्या है, whenever there is a crisis और financial emergency आती है, तो सबसे पहले retirement goal पे ही compromise होता है, because everybody is under the impression कि भाई अपने पास तो बहुत time है, we'll manage later on.
Yeah, so you are absolutely right परेश भाई, क्योंकि सबके दिमाग में ऐसा ही है कि अच्छा अभी तो 20 साल बाकी है रिटायरमेंट का ना, फिर से फंड कर लेंगे, अभी निकाल लेते हैं. बट हिस्ट्री ने हमको एक बात सिखाया है, एंड वी कैन ऑल सी इट, जिसको टच नहीं किया है वो सबसे ज्यादा पैसा बना है. व्हेन माय फादर यूज्ड टू मैनेज इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, ही didn't have knowledge about mutual funds, so he used to invest in PPF, he used to invest in insurance policies, and he used to always keep some money in at home, emergency के लिए. I always seen that he never touched his PPF because उनके दिमाग में वो पहले से था कि ये मेरा रिटायरमेंट का पैसा है.
Correct.
He never touched his insurance policies till those policies got matured, because it in his head the framework, the structure was defined कि ये मेरा रिटायरमेंट का है, जब मैं रिटायरमेंट होगा हर साल मेरे को इतना पहले पॉलिसी का पैसा आएगा, वो मैच्योर होगा, वो मैं मेरे खर्चे के लिए यूज करूंगा. Similarly today, now we have avenues like mutual funds. If you plan your retirement through mutual funds, long-term mutual funds, equity mutual funds, hybrid mutual funds, and if you give 20-30 years, your real returns, your returns over and above inflation can be really high, and it can actually take care of all your post-retirement needs.
और दूसरा और एक चीज है which has changed earlier in 1950s and 60s, your life expectancy was around 50 to 55 in these areas.
Yeah.
Today the life expectancy is around 70 to 74.
Correct.
मतलब उतना लंबा लोग जिएंगे.
Yeah.
Because of the improved medical facilities, healthcare facilities बढ़ गई है, तो सबका जीना लंबा भी हो गया है.
Yeah.
तो अगले 10-20 सालों के बाद that will reach to 84-85.
Correct.
हर एक जन एवरेज 80-85 के आसपास 90 तक जिएगा. सो longevity is also a problem. लंबा जीना भी एक प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा.
लंबा जीना भी प्रॉब्लम, एंड यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट. इनफैक्ट आपने तो इंडिया का बताया कि 70 to 74 लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी है. देयर इज अ टाइम्स मैगजीन which had the front page article of a baby mentioning that is this the kid which will live till 150 years.
Oh.
So there is already somebody who's born, I don't know whether it is in India or which part of the world, who is actually going to live for 150 plus years because of medical advancement which has happened, because the kind of drugs which are coming out, the kind of technology which is coming out on the medical side. Are we really prepared to have our retirement corpus available if you are one of them which is going to live for say 120 years, 130 years, 150 years? I doubt. Most of us would have planned कि starting के 25 years पढ़ाई करनी है, सब कुछ सीखना है, फिर उसके 25 साल काम करना है और उसके 25 साल रिटायर होना है और वो पैसे यूज करना है. तो 75 के बाद क्या? What if you live for 100 years? What if you live for 120 years?
पैसे पहले खत्म हो गए तो?
पैसे खत्म हो गए तो क्या करोगे? So it is you are absolutely right. And today medical inflation is one thing which is going at a far higher pace than what the actual inflation of the overall country is. अगर inflation India का 4.5% है, medical inflation is going at a rate of about 10 to 12%, and these are actual reported numbers. And we can see, like, just 4-5 years back we had the biggest calamity in the last 100 years in the world, which was Corona. When it was new, when it had just got hit to every country, and जिसको हुआ उनके हॉस्पिटल बिल्स 30 लाख 40 लाख 50 लाख हो गए थे. उनके पूरा नेटवर्क उनका खत्म हो गया क्योंकि इतना किसी ने प्लान भी नहीं किया था. पीपल वर नॉट इवन इंश्योर्ड सो मच. आजकल लोग फैमिली में आप देखोगे तो पहले 1 लाख 2 लाख 3 लाख के मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी लेते थे. जब मैं वर्क फोर्स पे आया, मैंने 25 लाख का मेरे लिए इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी लिया, मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस. मेरी वाइफ के साथ रिसेंटली हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि वी शुड मेक इट 75 lakhs एज अ फैमिली फ्लोटर नाउ बिकॉज वी हैव अ चाइल्ड.
राइट.
Imagine from 1 to 3 lakhs, our ideology is we need 75 lakhs. Because in future, because of medical advancement technology, if something happens to any one of us, the surgery is actually going to be performed by robots.
Yeah.
And those are very, very expensive.
Correct.
It has already started even in India, even in Mumbai. There are hospitals where surgeries are being undertaken by robots.
Correct.
So you have to really plan properly for it.
So I just share with you my real family example. 2002 में मेरे फादर एडमिट हुए थे, हॉस्पिटलाइज हुए थे बिकॉज ऑफ द किडनी फेलियर और वो 1.25 महीने तक हॉस्पिटलाइज थे एंड देन ही कुड नॉट सर्वाइव एंड वी स्पेंड अराउंड दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम 7.5 lakh एंड जस्ट इन द रिसेंट पास्ट जब when my mother admitted in the same hospital for bypass surgery during COVID time, so I just inquired with the hospital authorities accounts कि जो पहले जो खर्चा किया था अगर सेम खर्चा अगर वापस करना पड़े तो कितना होगा. So they said it would be anywhere around 36 to 40 lakhs.
Wow.
So that is a kind of inflation that we have.
Yeah.
So if we consider the same, तो आज का जो नॉर्मल लगता है 10 लाख, probably 20 साल के बाद you need to spend around 48-50 lakhs.
Absolutely.
So that is a kind of inflation.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind, अपना strategy क्या होना चाहिए for retirement planning के लिए?
So, Paresh bhai, this is, one very, very interesting thing, and people are now realizing post-COVID because they have seen that kind of medical inflation in their family. Drug prices have gone up, medical devices prices have gone up so much. I think the first and the foremost thing, whether it is pre-retirement, post-retirement, is you should be having a sufficient medical insurance.
Okay.
If you don't have medical insurance, I'll tell you what happens. Even if something happens today and if you are admitted, you will have a minimum 1.5, 2 lakh ka bill. Even if it is a fever and if you are admitted.
Yeah, cool.
The medical inflation is so high, he will check your 10 other things, that why it is happening, why it is not happening, because it is related to your health. They would also not want to compromise. So they'll undertake all the tests.
Actually, the way the treatment is, given, the entire system of the hospitals and the medical and healthcare is changed.
Absolutely.
And we are adopting to the conclusive documentary kind of proof.
Yeah.
To go ahead for any treatment.
Absolutely.
मतलब क्या है कि उनको अभी पहले ऐसा होता था कि भाई डॉक्टर्स अपने intuition से कि उस हिसाब से करते थे. अभी it is completely
they don't want to try
test based.
Yeah, it is. They all want evidence. There is a data. There is an evidence which is there that the test is saying these are the issues and we should undertake these are the surgeries. So Paresh bhai, as you rightly said that for accumulation phase also we have to periodically review. Every 4-5 years situation changes in our family. At 25, if I'm starting to work, maybe I get married by 30, 32, 35. My goals will be different. For an individual goal, it can be a family goal. What if I have a children? My goals will be very different. I'll have a child education, child marriage, all those as also a goal. So we need to periodically review our financial structure, which we are, preparing pre-retirement. And for post-retirement, it is very, very important that the assets which we have gathered post-retirement, we at PGIM India Mutual Fund, we've prepared something called as a 3-bucket strategy. And what is that 3-bucket strategy is, if, for example, your corpus is 3 crores, which has got accumulated, nothing doing, you put 1 crore in a very, very conservative, hybrid fund where there is hardly any equity, or you can actually put it in a liquid fund or a low duration fund. Another 1 crore you can put it in a hybrid fund, which is like a moderate hybrid fund, and the third you can actually put in one of the flexi cap funds. And the beauty about this 3-bucket strategy is you will need money, you will have to utilize money because now you don't have any income. So you start your withdrawal, which is nothing but your SWP, which we talk about, systematic withdrawal plan. You start your SWP from the first bucket.
Right.
By the time your first bucket is over and you reach your second bucket, you've already given 4-5 years to the second bucket to compound.
Correct.
Then you start your SWP from the second bucket.
Right.
And by the time you have completed your second bucket, it has already finished 10-12 years. And the third bucket, which was your flexi cap bucket, that has already got compounded because it has already completed 10 years. So that 1 crore which was there in FlexiCap, which you had splitted it equally in 3 buckets, is today actually more than 3-4 crores,
Correct.
And that money can really last very, very long. And it won't stop at only 60, 65, 70, because, the life expectancy in the next 10 years can be 85, 90, 100. It can be above 100. We don't know where it can go. So SWP is one of the unique feature, I think, which everybody should use for your post-retirement corpus. It gives you a lot of flexibility to have a passive income, and because of that tool, you can actually enjoy your retirement peacefully.
Yeah, without worrying about कि कैसे manage करेंगे.
Absolutely.
Right. So in a nutshell, like when we are planning for retirement, so there are two elements. दो है. एक तो है प्री रिटायरमेंट जहाँ पे आप एक्यूमुलेशन करते हो, यू कीप इन्वेस्टिंग स्मॉल अमाउंट, बिग अमाउंट एज अ रिटायरमेंट बकेट. ओके, एंड इन द पोस्ट रिटायरमेंट आप डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करोगे, मतलब आप यूज करना चालू करोगे, राइट. सो वो यूज करने के लिए देन यू हैव एज यू राइटली मेंशन कि भाई 3 bucket स्ट्रेटेजी है.
3 bucket,
1/3 इज इन द फिक्स्ड इनकम प्रोडक्ट, या तो म्यूचुअल फंड, डेट म्यूचुअल फंड है या लिक्विड फंड है. अनदर इज एन मॉडरेट. तो मतलब क्या है कि एक खाली होता है तो दूसरे से उसको भरने का, करेक्ट, तीसरे को रिजर्व करके रखने का.
By the time you reach third, it is already compounded because you have given 10-12 years another, for it to compound.
So that is a fantastic way of managing our retirement life.
Absolutely.
Without worrying about the financials during retirement. मतलब पैसे खत्म ही नहीं होंगे ऐसे, राइट ना. तो that is quite amazing, these strategies. लेकिन ये तो आपने बताया जो लोग ट्रेडिशनली 60 पे रिटायर होते हैं वगैरह, बट व्हाट अबाउट द टुडेज जनरेशन, दे डोंट लाइक टू वर्क टिल 60. जैसे हम लोग करते हैं, वी थॉट ऑफ आवर पेरेंट्स हैव थॉट ऑफ वर्किंग टिल 60. दैट वाज अ माइंडसेट. करेक्ट. अभी का माइंडसेट है हाई ग्रोथ है, एंड दे डोंट वांट टू वर्क टिल 60. They want to retire at 40, 45, 50.
Correct.
So for them, what you suggest? I mean, what kind of what are the precautions or the strategies that they should adopt for this early retirement?
So you are, again, Paresh bhai, absolutely right. Today's generation, like when I talk to my daughter, she's 13-year-old. We keep talking to her about, what you want to do. You have to discuss now because, when you pick up your post graduation, you will eventually, have to choose a stream where you want to go and excel in your career. But when you discuss about her, she's like, y'all are working till this age. I am not going to work for so many years in my life. I will only work for 10, 15 years of my life, and then eventually I will enjoy my life. So, and that is the reality, and it is going to happen, and it is not far away. But for them, again, as I discussed at PG India, we've prepared this something which is called as a gig income, So even if somebody who wants to retire at 45, they don't have today that retirement corpus which can last for another 75, 80, 90, 100 years. For them, it is very, very important that whatever they have accumulated, they split equally in this 3 bucket strategy which we discussed, which is equally from, from a fixed income to a conservative hybrid or a moderate hybrid to a flexi cap kind of a strategy. And since they are 45, 50, they are still young. They want to do something which they love about. They want to pursue their hobby,
right?
Which can be anything, which can be traveling. You can become a travel blogger. You can become, a coach. You can become a sports consultant. You can become a trainer where you're doing training only 2-3 days of the week. So you will make some money out of it. Whatever money you make out of your gig income, keep filling in your third bucket, which is your equity bucket, which is your flexi cap bucket.
Correct.
If you do this smartly, your money will last forever because you have already retired. You're going to withdraw from your fixed income, but you are earning. It is not that you have not stopped. You are doing some passion, some hobby, and you're earning some money. You put that bucket straight away that money in your third bucket, which is your equity bucket. By the time you reach your equity bucket, which will be, after SWP of this bucket, first bucket and second bucket, it will again would have completed 10, 15 years. And this money would have become so huge that it can really last forever.
Correct.
So you're right. In today's generation, people don't want to work for very long, but they want to work where they see very high growth and they want to pursue their hobby for life.
So they are not retiring from their active life.
Absolutely.
They are retiring from their work life.
Absolutely.
And then they are active in those activities where they are very passionate about.
Very passionate about.
मतलब क्या है कि आप फाइनेंशियली फ्रीडम भी अचीव कर रहे हो, you are also active in your area of passion.
Yeah.
और आप आपका retirement life भी enjoy कर रहे हो.
Yeah, and which is what we call. So there's a term which we've created for that. It's called as FIRE. Financial independence, retire early.
Okay.
So financially you are independent, you are retiring early, but you are also earning because of your hobby or passion, and you are creating a corpus for that by putting it a proper 3 bucket strategy. So everybody wants today to see their next generation to be fire quickly because they want that financially they should be independent.
So everybody wants to, they remember the dialogue of Pushpa.
Yeah.
Flower समझे क्या?
Absolutely, fire.
So everyone to become fire.
Everybody want to become fire. Yeah.
But for that, I think when they are, working 10, 15 years, 20 years, that time they should be quite aggressive in their investment plan and
absolutely
savings.
Absolutely.
So that they can work on their.
Yeah, it looks very easy, but all these things need a rigorous hand holding by a qualified mutual fund distributors like you or QFPs like you, who will sit with these young chap who will explain them that all this is good, but in the initial years of your earning age, you should really invest higher percentage of your salary, and you should not, because anyway they don't have the expense of their family, which is anyway taken by their parents. So whatever earnings they have a huge corpus which is either getting spent or either they can do investment. So if they do higher investments, that journey can actually become earlier than what we can actually think of.
Correct. So it's quite interesting, like म्यूचुअल फंड के साथ आप रिटायरमेंट वगैरह के बात कर रहे हो, यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट म्यूचुअल फंड. सो इवन big cricketers, celebrities also, they are talking about mutual fund sahi hai. Even during Champions Trophy also there was a campaign, mutual fund sahi hai. But I just wanted to know, I mean, you can elaborate on that, how mutual fund can be a tool for achieving various life goals, and in that how any personal finance professional or mutual fund distributor can help investors in this.
Sure. So it's a very interesting question. When I had started my career in mutual fund industry, and when I was talking to my relatives, they felt mutual fund means only risk. And which is what I had to explain them every time, that mutual fund is nothing but it's a tree, and there are various branches to it. One branch is little risk, but it has rewards also higher in the long run, which is equity mutual fund. Then there are some products which are alternate to fixed deposit, which are fixed income mutual fund. There are some products which are alternate to gold also, which are gold funds. And there are some products which are alternate to even international stocks, which are international funds. So mutual fund doesn't mean only risk. Your risk is there if you put everything in equity mutual funds. Now, for example, when you're doing somebody's life planning, life goal planning, and you're creating for somebody an emergency corpus, that emergency corpus means it is meant for emergency. That person can need money anytime.
तुरंत मिलना चाहिए.
So if I invest in an equity mutual fund, and if market is down, if the valuation is down, that emergency corpus can be at a big risk क्योंकि वो value कम हो जाएगा.
Correct.
And that is where you need to invest for a shorter term goals only in liquid funds. So any goals which a investor has for the next 1 year, you should only put in liquid funds or products related to fixed income where there is absolutely lowest risk form.
So liquidity is available. And riskiness is very, very high. If you see, mutual funds disclose as something called as riskometer. Right.
And these are the products which come under low risk product. So you should always invest everything as per your need. Now, if you have a retirement goal, you should never invest your money in liquid funds, because your goal is going to be there after 15-20 years. Liquid funds are going to generate returns where somewhere close to where the risk-free rate of India is.
Around inflation
or the risk-free rate. If risk-free rate is say 6%, it will generate approximately 6%. So it is not the right product. So mutual fund is not only risk. Please, it is a very, very important thing to understand. Mutual fund gives you an overall holistic planning tool for an investor, where you can plan your short-term goals, medium-term goals. In fact, in equity, you should only invest if your goals are minimum 5, 7, 10 years away. You should not even invest in equity if you have if a goal which is going to come in the next 2 years. You should only look at medium-term funds or short-term funds.
Correct.
And that is where mutual funds Sahi Hai as a campaign has become so popular. Today, these are being discussed at a household level.
Right.
And there are these big celebrities who are endorsing it because there is a true belief that with mutual funds alone, you can do your overall planning.
Okay. But the problem is here is that what आज की तारीख में there are a lot of information and materials available on Google and WhatsApp University, etc. And there are also fintech companies are mushroomed,
Yeah.
who are providing the platform where you can invest based on AI tools like DIY process,
Yeah.
do it yourself.
Yeah.
और then so how will you तो सब लोग क्या करते हैं, इन्फ्लुएंसर को बात सुनते हैं जो बताते हैं 3 साल के रिटर्न के बेस के ऊपर, 5 साल के रिटर्न के बेस के ऊपर दे रिकमेंड विदाउट एंड इन्वेस्टर्स फॉलो विदाउट अंडरस्टैंडिंग देयर रिक्वायरमेंट्स एंड देयर लाइफ गोल्स.
Correct.
So in that process, what you suggest is DIY investment through DIY process with the AI tool is better, or DIP process, that is do it through personal finance professional is
Yeah.
better, or how would you make the judgment?
This is a very, very interesting thing, and I think there are a lot of advantages which fintechs have provided, and there are certain things which are not even recommended for an investor to look at. So I'll start with the advantages. Because of so much technology and so much investments which are happening in fintech, as an individual, if I want to reach an investor which is, say, sitting in a Rajasthan in a small city where the population is only 5,000, it was physically impossible for me
Correct.
to go and meet. Because of fintech today, that investor, because of good internet penetration across the country, that investor has actually at least downloaded one of these apps and understood कि what is mutual fund. Earlier तो उनको पहुंच ही नहीं पाता था knowledge, क्योंकि कोई reach ही नहीं कर पाता था वहाँ पे. Today, at least because of fintechs, they are able to know that what is mutual fund, what is investment, what are these tools. And I will relate this with very simple example. That why do it yourself is good in the initial phase if you have all the time in life and if you are not doing anything.
And if you are expert.
And if you are an expert. Like for example, if you have somebody who's a businessman, Monday to Saturday he's doing business and he's very busy. It is impossible for him to manage his money himself.
Right.
Today, in mutual fund industry, there's a lot of CEOs and a lot of fund managers. They don't have time to manage their money. Their money is also managed by some professionals.
Yeah.
They don't have time to manage. Imagine they are in this industry, but they don't have time to manage their own money. Somebody else is managing their money because they know that an expert is doing the job. So they are stress free and they can run the company, run the organization, run the investment team, professionally and, in the right manner. So do it yourself is very good for somebody who is not doing anything, who has all the time in the world and who understands nitty-gritties of each and everything. Just some time back, there used to be some investors who used to invest a lot in sector funds, thematic funds, because
Right.
they were very, very popular. They had done very, very well. But was it right for him? That he didn't know. But because the past returns were good, they were chasing those funds. So these are the negative things of doing it yourself. So, and I'll connect this with another profession, which is doctors. And this we have seen when we were small and when we were growing up. When I used to get fever, my mom used to tell me that crocin ले ले ठीक थई जैसे, like crocin ले लो ठीक हो जाएगा. After one day, she used to ask and check कि fever है कि नहीं है. नहीं हुए ने तो ठीक है, but if there was fever, no, she used to tell me आज डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं. So DIY is exactly like that.
अच्छा.
When you have small money, when you want to try and test, you test. But if you don't have expertise, if you don't have time, you need to go to somebody like you who's a professional in finance, who knows and who will sit and discuss with him, what is your risk appetite, how much is your tolerance level when it comes to risk, whether you should put money in equity, whether you should not put money in equity, and which is the right product for you, which is the not right product for you. So our profession, if you see, is very new. hardly, our profession is there for the last 15, 20, 25 years.
Correct.
Whereas doctors are there since millions of years. So when you go to a doctor, when you have a fever, and if the doctor recommends you something, you will blindly follow it.
Correct.
Because that respect, that thing has come because it is there since millions of years. And the same thing has started happening. The kind of respect, the kind of, following of advisor has started happening even in, India, but it is still a very nascent stage. So do it yourself, very, very good for somebody who has all the time and effort. But when you have really want to do some good planning, it is better to come to an expert and give, because they can do justice to what you want. And see, our business is also or more about how do you manage behavior of clients, emotions of client.
मार्केट ऊपर नीचे होता है, उसके साथ लोगों का इमोशंस भी ऊपर नीचे होता है.
करेक्ट, एब्सोल्युटली. अभी फॉर एग्जांपल आपके पास एक इन्वेस्टर है जो रोज फंड वैल्यू देखता है. आप अगर उसका पैसा इक्विटी में डालोगे तो मार्केट ऊपर गया तो ठीक है, एवरीथिंग इज गुड, ही विल बी हैप्पी. बट अगर मार्केट नीचे गया तो वो रोज आपको फोन करेगा, वो रोज आपसे पूछेगा. सो फॉर सच इन्वेस्टर्स यू विल not necessarily give only equity funds. You will get some maybe hybrid funds. You will give some liquid funds, and you will tell him कि आप सिर्फ ये मत देखो, आप overall portfolio level पे देखो कि how much is your money going up or down when markets are volatile. So I think it is very important for professionals, personal finance professionals like you, because you actually handhold the client, you manage the emotions of the client. You tell him that we had invested in this fund looking at retirement in perspective, तो market आज नीचे जा रहा है तो you should be happy, you will be accumulating more units.
Correct.
जब हम रियल एस्टेट लेते हैं तब हम एकर्स स्क्वायर फीट की बात करते हैं. जब आप सोना लेते हैं तब हम तोला किलो में बात करते हैं. तो हम म्यूचुअल फंड वैल्यू में क्यों बात कर रहे हैं, हम यूनिट्स में बात क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं?
Absolutely correct.
Units is the only thing in mutual fund which will either remain constant or either it will go up. It can never go down.
हाँ, ये
NAV value will keep going up and down. कभी आपने अगर 10 ग्राम का सोना लिया है वो कभी 9 ग्राम होता है क्या?
नहीं.
बट वैल्यू 80,000 का 90,000 हो गया या 90,000 का 80,000 हो गया, वैल्यू अप डाउन होता है. बट हम क्या डिस्कस करते हैं फैमिली में, मेरे पास 2 किलो सोना है, मेरे पास 2 एकड़ सोना है, 50 तोला सोना है, मेरे पास 2 एकड़ जमीन है. म्यूचुअल फंड में भी हमको यूनिट्स का बात करना है.
This is something very unique and new that every investor should understand. मतलब क्या है कि एक नया पर्सपेक्टिव है, मतलब अपने को माइंडसेट चेंज करने की जरूरत है. हम लोग हमेशा देखते रहते प्राइस ऊपर नीचे हो गया, ऊपर नीचे हो गया.
करेक्ट.
लेकिन इसकी तरफ देखते नहीं कि मैंने कितने यूनिट्स
एक्यूमुलेट किए. जिस दिन हम स्टार्टिंग में ही इन्वेस्टर्स को बता पाए कि आप यूनिट्स पे फोकस कीजिए और कुछ मत देखिए आपके फोलियोज में, तो द ट्रेंड इज ओनली एंड ओनली गो अप. इट विल नॉट बी वॉलेटाइल. जो अपन ने स्टार्टिंग में डिस्कस किया कि मार्केट्स आर वेरी वॉलेटाइल,
राइट,
कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ेगा. यूनिट्स की अगर डिस्कस की, यूनिट्स एक ऐसा ग्राफ दिखेगा जिसमें से ऊपर ही ऊपर जा रहा है, क्योंकि आप हर मंथ खरीद रहे हो. आपको अगर मार्केट नीचे जा रहा है तो आपको ज्यादा यूनिट मिल रहा है, मार्केट नीचे नहीं जा रहा है तो भी आपको यूनिट मिल रहा है, यूनिट से बढ़ ही रहे.
करेक्ट है.
So this is something which I think all of us put together have to focus to tell clients, look at units and only units when it comes to mutual funds.
करेक्ट. बहुत ही आपने वैलिड पॉइंट कहा है. और every investor should keep in mind that what they are accumulating, and they are accumulating units, then obviously they will create value for that. So मतलब in a nutshell, it's more important कि भाई we should have a steady mind during volatile times, and we just have the focus on our life goals.
Absolutely.
जरूरत ही क्या है अभी सोचने की, जब मेरे गोल्स तो ऐसे भी 5 साल 10 साल के बाद आने वाले.
Exactly.
तो अभी क्या हो रहा है उससे क्या लेना,
कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ना चाहिए. जर्नी, अगर मेरे को बॉम्बे से दुबई जाना है, रास्ते में अगर टर्बुलेंस आता है तो हम क्या करते हैं, पायलट क्या बोलता है कि सीट की पेटी बांध के रखिए और प्लीज वेयर द सीट बेल्ट बिकॉज देयर इज टर्बुलेंस. आपको सिर्फ आपका काम यही है, उनको सीट बेल्ट लूज करना है, सीट बेल्ट टाइट करना है, सीट बेल्ट लूज करना है, सीट बेल्ट टाइट करना है. जाना तो दुबई है और मुंबई से दुबई के पूरे बीच के रास्ते में पानी है.
हाँ.
तो टर्बुलेंस होगा तो क्या ही कर लेंगे हम.
पानी में तो जाता है,
पानी में थोड़ी कोई कूद जाता है,
कोई कूद तो जाता नहीं है.
अच्छा, ये एक एग्जाम्पल है. अगर आपको दिल्ली जाना है, देयर आर 3 ways ऑफ गोइंग टू दिल्ली. आप प्लेन में भी जा सकते हो, आप ट्रेन में भी जा सकते हो, आप बाय रोड में भी जा सकते हो. आपको अगर सबसे ज्यादा स्पीड से जाना है तो आप प्लेन में जाओगे. तो अगर आप म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो, आपका कोई गोल है, आपको जल्दी से अचीव करना है, तो आपको इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में डालना पड़ेगा. बट अगर आप प्लेन में जा रहे हो, सबसे ज्यादा रिस्क भी प्लेन में ही है. कुछ भी हो सकता है, टर्बुलेंस भी हो सकता है.
But we have a confidence on the pilot.
But we have a confidence on the pilot, and that is where you are the pilot for an investor. You are that coach. You are that QFP. You are professionally qualified to manage the client. But अगर टर्बुलेंस होता है, तो क्या वो बीच में अहमदाबाद पे उतरता है? वो कहता है पायलट को कि नहीं, तकलीफ लग रही है, आगे बहुत खराब है, आप अहमदाबाद में पार्क कर लो.
So while reaching to the destination, one should also enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
Or
And
journey can be completely.
live with that and stay in that journey with that expectation कि turbulence तो आने ही वाला है.
Correct.
Turbulence नहीं आएगा तो भाई तकलीफ है कुछ. And that is what market is. Markets will be volatile. Markets will be choppy.
So in this like entire journey, what are the common mistakes जो investors करता है while investing in mutual fund?
Yeah.
And how personal finance professional can help investors to avoid making such mistakes? जैसे कि रिटर्न चेस करते हैं.
Yeah.
पीपल आर लुकिंग एट 3 years का रिटर्न देख के इन्वेस्ट करने की बात करते हैं, 5 साल का रिटर्न देख के इन्वेस्ट करने की बात करते हैं. सो व्हाट आर दोस कॉमन मिस्टेक्स?
So I'll tell you, Yan Paresh bhai, this is the best point in the overall discussion of ours today. आज क्या होता है, बिकॉज ऑफ सो मेनी AI टूल्स, फिनटेक टूल्स, आप उन पे लॉग इन करो, दिखेगा कि लास्ट 1 year ये फंड ने बहुत अच्छा रिटर्न दिया, मेरे को ये फंड में पैसा डालना है. और बहुत टाइम वो खुद ही कर लेते हैं.
करेक्ट.
बहुत बार ऐसा होगा कि वो आपको फोन करके बोलेंगे कि मेरे को ये फंड में डालना है. आप उनको गाइड भी करोगे कि ये आपके लिए सही फंड नहीं है, बट वो फिर भी डालेंगे. सो
ऐसा होता है,
ऐसा होगा और होता रहेगा, बिकॉज इट इज ह्यूमन बिहेवियर has always been greedy. They always want the bestest thing with lowest risk.
And another thing is that इसे और एक चीज है, एक इमोशंस जो वर्क कर रहा है, वो ये है कि मुझे दूसरों से मेरा बेटर होना चाहिए, मेरा दूसरों से अच्छा ही होना चाहिए. So in that race they try to keep changing the things.
Correct. And इसीलिए आप अगर बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग फंड को पकड़ने जाओगे, हिस्ट्री ये कहता है कि बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग फंड ऑफ लास्ट ईयर हैज नेवर बीन द बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग फंड दिस ईयर.
करेक्ट.
एंड द वर्स्ट परफॉर्मिंग फंड ऑफ दिस ईयर समटाइम्स विल बी द बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग फंड नेक्स्ट ईयर.
करेक्ट है.
सो देयर इज नो पॉइंट चेजिंग रिटर्न्स, एंड दिस इज द बिगेस्ट मिस्टेक. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट we don't see, and this is a big point which I'm going to mention right now, कि बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि हम ये फंड से पैसा निकाल के ये फंड में डालते हैं, ये सोच के कि यहाँ ज्यादा रिटर्न बनेगा.
करेक्ट है.
ये जर्नी में आप कितना कैपिटल गेन टैक्स पे कर रहे हो, उसकी वजह से आपका पैसा कंपाउंड नहीं हो रहा है. क्या आपने कैपिटल गेन टैक्स को कंसिडर किया है? इफ यू आर रिमूविंग मनी फ्रॉम ए फंड टू बी फंड जस्ट बिकॉज you feel that the B fund is going to do very, very well, you're paying a lot of capital gain tax in that A fund, and because of that your compounding is getting stopped, it is getting muted. And that is where, you know, professionals like you, because of your technology reports, you all are being able to guide people कि आप ये मत करो, आपको बहुत tax impact आएगा. You have a short term capital gain tax, you have a long term capital gain tax, and history has said पैसा तभी बनेगा जब आप पैसा डालोगे और 10, 15, 20 साल के लिए भूल जाओगे. इक्विटी में तो आपको अगर उसके पहले पैसा चाहिए, आप इक्विटी में डालो ही मत. पैसा तभी बनेगा जब आप इक्विटी में डाल के भूल जाओगे. सो मेरा ये मानना है कि ये सब एस्पेक्ट भी ध्यान देना चाहिए कि कैपिटल गेन टैक्स लगेगा. ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि इससे निकाला और उसमें डाला तो ये फंड परफॉर्म नहीं करेगा जिससे निकाला. यू नेवर नो, दैट फंड अगेन कैन कम बैक. आइडिया इज यू शुड गिव फंड्स 4, 5, 7 years. Keep reviewing it every now and then. If there is some material change, if the fund manager has changed, if the process has changed, if the thought process से जो पैसा डाला था वो thought process ही change हो गया, तो आप change करिए. But otherwise change करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है बिल्कुल.
So in a nutshell, you have to have a very stable mind.
Absolutely.
While dealing with the investments and while planning for your future requirements.
Correct.
Right. So this is in a nutshell, if we can summarize. So how would you summarize the entire this thing for this, because our main focus was on the retirement.
So
how would you summarize on the entire thing?
So let me summarize. If there is a college going student who is in his final year MBA or his engineering, and he's going to go out in the market and start earning, the first thing in his life he should do is buy a health insurance.
बिकॉज
आपने अभी ही काम करना शुरू किया है, इनकेस आपको कुछ हो जाए तो आपके पास एक तो वैसे ही पैसा जमा नहीं हुआ है, आप हॉस्पिटल का बिल कहाँ से पे करोगे?
राइट.
So the first thing you need to do is you need to immediately buy a health insurance as your first salary, which comes. If there is money left after that, and if you feel ki on your salary there is somebody dependent in the family, immediately buy a term insurance plan. And after that, whatever money is left, invest in your goals, sit with your qualified professionals who will explain you that if for this goal, which fund is good, for this goal, what product is good, do that. Don't even do it yourself. You should all focus on working in the company or doing a business where you can make maximum salary or maximum profits and give a professional that money to manage, because it's their job to do that. And they will end up doing much better than you in the long run. These are the basic principles. And when you are doing after your health insurance, after your term insurance, if there is some money left and if you are doing investments, a portion of that should go towards retirement, because the retirement savings should start from day one so that it gets 20, 30, 40, 50 years for compounding. Because we should all remember the Time magazine front page.
Yeah.
You never know if you are that person who's going to live for 150 years. Where is the money? And we are living in a family, we are living in a society which is slow and steadily moving towards nuclear family. We'll not have our kids maybe staying with us anymore.
Correct.
So you need to be sufficiently creating your own corpus that time. So these are my few basic advice to begin with. Post that, you should sit with a qualified advisor and understand what all things I need to do during my pre-retirement, which is in my accumulation phase. And once I have retired, what should be my distribution phase? How should I plan my SWPs, which is systematic withdrawal plan? How I should plan my 3 bucket strategies? Can I actually use my gig income to, really ensure my retirement corpus lasts for very, very long? So these are my few basic advices. But I would like to end my discussion, by saying that I am a manufacturer. I design products as a AMC. I am part of PGIM India Mutual Fund. If you have a problem related to money, you should go to somebody who can understand your overall needs, which is a qualified professional finance person. And it is similarly like if you have fever, do you go to Sun Pharma, Cipla, Lupin? You don't go, right? If you come to me, it is like that. You always go to a family doctor, right? So always have a qualified professional person who knows your family history, who knows your risk tolerance, your risk appetite, your risk profile, and accordingly, he can recommend what is right and what is not right for you. So this is what I would like to summarize, Paresh, by our discussion with.
Ankit, this was a wonderful session, and it is really a pleasure for us to have you in this podcast series, Investwise Bharat.
Thank you.
And that will certainly, enlighten or create awareness among the investors. Thank you so much once again.
It is all my pleasure, Paresh bhai. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to discuss. And this is a very, very passionate topic, and that is why everything is coming out from heart.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay.
Disclaimer: mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Please read all related documents carefully. Past performance does not guarantee future results. This post is for informational purposes only.